Hi. Well, you can see I've got my Leighton House hat on. It was I didn't even know I'd got this. I dug it out the attic a few weeks ago, and I think it's been stuck in a bag about for the last 30 years. But yeah, I'm talking about Leighton House, so it's very it's very fitting that I should wear the cap. I was telling you about the party on the boat in Monaco. Well, after we'd after I'd fallen down the steps and everything, the one or two of the lads had somehow they'd acquired some fireworks and some rockets and everything like that. Well, the next boat to us, which moored down, was it was a boat owned by Mansour Ogier, who was head of TAG, who were McLaren's partners and engine suppliers. And Ron Dennis and Mansour Ogier had got this lovely black tie dicky bow dance party going on the boat. While we were slinging water all over this fabulous yacht, everybody was on the back of this boat, you know, drinking the champagne and all the rest of it. Well, one or two of the lads decided to shake them up a bit. So they started firing these rockets over the heads of all the people who were on the back of this McLaren boat. And I remember seeing also, I think there was a Rolls Royce on the jetty. I can vividly see one of these rockets heading off and exploding in the grill of this Rolls Royce. So somebody from Ron's boat sent a message over to basically say, could you please stop firing these rockets over the boat because somebody's going to get hurt. And it was spoiling his evening, but there you go. One of the other things that happened, I think it was that year, I think it was 88, but the Lotus boys were based up in Norfolk, and what happened was, when you go down to Monaco, the trucks would leave, and but you always had to have a support van. So it'd be like a transit van or something like that, which you would use to ferry all of your pit gear up the pit lane. So you'd always got this van on hand to, sort of like as a pit trolley to take things up and down. Well, the Lotus trucks had left Norfolk and headed off down to the docks, and two of the Lotus boys were tasked with driving this van. So one of them, as they were going, I mean, they're going through Norfolk or wherever, and there's a lot of fields around, and somehow they spotted a crow scarer, one of these automatic things that bangs in a farmer's field to get rid of all the crows. So I think they both parked the van up, hopped into this field, and got hold of this crow scarer and put it in the back of the van. So they drive down to Monaco with it. Now, these crow scarers, the way they go is probably about sort of every 10 minutes, they are loaded up with basically blank shotgun cartridges, and they're on a timer that clicks round, and they will bang and scares the crows off. But what they did was they were cruising around Monaco with this crow scarer in the back, and every 10 minutes, just as this thing was going to bang, they'd open the back doors and then boom, it would go off, and then they'd close the doors again and start cruising around Monaco. And if you've ever been to Monaco, the level of security there is incredible. I mean, I think it's one policeman for about every 40 residents or something like that. But suddenly there were fire sirens and police sirens and all sorts going off around Monaco, because they'd heard these bangs going on, coming out the back of this van. And it was these lads from Lotus. And again, I know you are, guys, you naughty boys. But I probably don't know most of the gimmicks that people got up to, but I can tell you about one or two that I got up to. We were testing down at Pembrey, which is a small little circuit down the other side of Swansea in Wales. And we used to go down there quite regularly, and it was a tight little windy circuit. But it was local. I think it was fairly inexpensive, and we'd go down there. But this one day, Mauricio Gugelmin, one of our drivers, had been going round and round the circuit, and he came in and he says, I've seen a snake on the circuit. He says, I hate snakes. And I said, don't be silly, you know. But anyway, it turned out that, snakes did used to come out of the grass, because there was, you know, it was down by the coast. There was a lot of grass and that. So anyway, I thought, okay, I'll have a bit of fun here. So I got a black and yellow bungee cord, you know, one of those stretchy cords, and I put I taped a head on it and put a couple of eyes on it, and I put this thing in my pocket. So anyway, Gugelmin is going around, and he comes in, and I go down by the side of the car into the side pods as if I'm going to get any leaves or grass out of it. But I've got this snake in my pocket. So anyway, as I got up, I dropped this snake into Gugelmin's lap, and he got his helmet on and just heard him scream, and he was out of that car in probably 3 seconds with the steering wheel still on, belts off, out of the car. I'd run down the pit lane, and he chased after me, and I couldn't get away quick enough, and he just flying rugby tackle to the floor. he was whacking me and what have you, but he was. But those are the things we got up to. We went to another little circuit called Croix, which I think I mentioned earlier on, which is in north of France, and another stupid game we got up to was filling bin liners up with gas, with acetylene, and setting them off and making bombs out of them. I remember at Croix, I made one of these things, filled a bag up with gas, and Ivan Capelli was asleep in his hire car, and he pulled the seats down, and he was lying back and that. Anyway, I set this bomb thing off by him. It almost lifted the bloody car off the floor, the bang. Ivan shot up. He wondered what was going on. But what I hadn't noticed as well, just by the side of the car, there was a big empty drum of fuel, and I was lucky that didn't catch fire. So anyway, that was daft. But we had a similar thing in Hockenheim at another test. We'd been working all day, and it was getting late into the night, and a few of the teams had gone home, but one or two were working really late. And anyway, myself and one of the other lads, we decided to sort of, we were bored, so we set off one of these bombs in the paddock, and it was a real big bang. But a little bit later, around about midnight, I remember it was Robin Day, and Robin will tell you this. Robin was the crew chief on the test team, but anyway, he came down he says, Ed, he says, as we speak, he said, Minardi are filling a 45-gallon drum up in the middle of the outfield at Hockenheim. Hockenheim is like a great big concrete stadium. Anyway, the Minardi boys rigged a bit of a charge up to, I'll tell you all the technicalities, I'll probably get done for something, but they rigged a charge up anyway. At midnight, they set this oil drum off, which was, as I say, a 45-gallon oil drum, filled with gas, and the thing exploded. And the Germans in the town of Hockenheim must have thought that the Second World War had started again, because the bang was absolutely incredible. And those Minardi boys were nutters. They were really at it. But earlier in the day, I'll always remember this as well. We've been having a few problems with fuel pressure on the engine, and to get the fuel to flow, they turned the fuel pump on, but they had to bleed it. Had to bleed the system. So again, Robin Day, what he did was he would undo the fuel pipe and would turn the engine over, and then the fuel would come out. Well, it was going all over the engine. So Robin grabbed the nearest receptacle, which was a can of Coke, a Coke can. And he put the fuel into this, and then, the pressure dropped down, and then he tightened the fuel up again. Anyway, he put this Coke can down on one of the toolboxes, one of the roll cabs. Well, about 10 minutes later, Adrian Newey, who was the designer of the car, he comes walking into the garage, and it's a really hot day, and has a look around, spots this can of Coke on the cabinet, picks it up and takes a huge glug out of it, and it was all fuel. His face was a picture.